I'm posting on YouTube, and it's a new channel. It's called The Girl Who Sold Her Louboutin Shoes. I haven't personally encountered people with who monetized the YouTube channel, so that's why I was super curious to ask you.
I see you did a clip, which is great, but your guest isn't a collaborator on the post. Hi, and welcome to this new episode of my podcast debut where I interview people like Victoria who are considering starting their podcast. And if you're considering that, also hopefully it gives you the inspiration, the motivation, and the knowledge to get started and do it well, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube channel or both at the same time. So thank you so much, Victoria, for joining, and let's get straight into it. What is your podcast idea?
Yeah, thank you so much, Alex, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here and talking about the podcast. I am creating something that, first of all, I was super curious myself. As I've noticed, I keep encountering many interesting people in my life. And especially when I moved to Bali, I just keep meeting those people and I keep asking their stories because it basically, I figure out that I'm a human junkie and I love talking to people, and it just comes naturally to me. And I realize that there's so many wonderful people that I would love to share about their stories, their presence, their greatness, and their lifestyles.
Mm,
So that's where the idea came from, and that's how I started my podcast.
amazing. So, have you started already?
Yes, I've actually started already. I have created my new YouTube channel account on 5th of January, and since then I've had 3 podcasts. 2 are available. One is just about to be there, visible and downloaded. Yeah,
Amazing. Congratulations.
thank you. It has been fun. And I think I'm trying to overcome a little bit of that issue of when the camera is on, I want everything to be perfect and to flow and
Mm,
people to open up. But I have noticed that sometimes we freeze, not only the person who is there in the podcast, but myself, because I'm like, yeah, it's that ability. I'm going to hypnotize myself actually to forget off the camera as soon as it's on. And knowing that you've had a successful YouTube channel yourself, I wonder how long does it take you to overcome this, presence of camera being on while you are interviewing people or having a conversation?
mm. Thank you so much for asking and for sharing. Well, also acknowledging your very successful hypnotherapist. I've seen you also on Axel Shura's podcast, big interview, and you told me you've been working with him. So obviously that works well. You already have a strong following on Instagram. I had a look at your Instagram before our conversation with over 8,000 followers, and you seem pretty comfortable already speaking to me right now. I would say to answer your question, just having a conversation with someone is often an easier way to start a podcast versus maybe speaking alone on camera, because naturally it's more natural for us human beings to have a conversation, and once we're in it, it's easier to be in the flow rather than being in our own way. So before I answer you on this, I'd love to ask you. So you've done that podcast before with Axel, and it was in a big studio, right? How was that for you?
That was in the Django studio. It was beautiful. I love the lighting and everything about the studio and how fluent Axel is now in, delivering the messages. And he's a great speaker. And as was giving him a session in 2020, if I remember well, we basically were encoding everything that happened in his life right now. Like he's got great community, over 200,000 followers on Instagram. He's got a successful YouTube channel, I think around 40,000 there. And I remember every little thing that I've just mentioned about, and even more, like having his online platform, we were literally programming his mind to do it for him, to make it a reality. And now, as he invited me to the podcast, it was already a reality, which was a beautiful proof that hypnotherapy does work wonderfully. And yeah, it was absolutely honor to have that ability to discuss things with him and to have him as a proof was absolutely wonderful.
Amazing. Thank you. And how was it for you to be there? Did you feel comfortable?
Yeah, I did feel comfortable. Yeah, I think I did not really prepare myself as I wished I did. But on the other hand, I thought I'm going to go with the flow. I want to overcome that feeling that I'm not ready enough because I've
Mm,
got many clients who, they've got so many courses and so many years of studying, and they're not feeling enough to be there to present themselves in the public, to become a public speaker or a great teacher that they already are. So I thought, okay, I'm going to break that pattern in myself. So whenever this kind of thought was appearing in me, I said to myself, I'm going to go just as I am and yeah, show myself authentically and just give it a go. That was my
mm.
first podcast ever I got invited to.
Amazing. Amazing. And so you started with something that can be more intimidating, and here you are again doing a podcast and you've launched your podcast. So yeah, congratulations with that. To answer your question more specifically, my experience is when I started my first episode 7 years ago, I had a combination of imposter syndrome as well as not feeling so comfortable on camera. So I had this and did it anyway, which I'm very grateful for. And like anything, I kept growing and I kept being more comfortable. And there's always a next level. So even right now, when I watch my episodes again, I've removed a lot of filler words and the things that I could improve. But at the same time, I often still see a lot of things that I could find cringy myself. We often I was critic and that I feel I could improve. And I will add that about episode 70, that's when I did my first episode in a studio that I rented with 3 cameras and a team. And that was also something out of my comfort zone. And actually, just today, a couple of hours ago, I filmed a podcast for my other channel, The Light Leaders, with my channel called Shams Tabriz, and he's channeling Yeshua, Jesus. And so we had that conversation on the podcast, and that was something that raised also some a little bit of excitement, but also nervousness in me because it brought like, who am I to talk to Jesus through a channel, and what are people going to think? So there's always going to be next levels. So I don't know how to answer you basically how long exactly it takes to be purely comfortable, but I definitely feel much more comfortable as I do it now that I've done about 300 episodes.
Wow, you've got a very um, big experience. And did you mention you've got one channel or have you got a few YouTube channels?
I have two. I have the Light Leaders, which is more my life's work. Feature light leaders, so it's light workers that have also like a big movement with them and take a big action creating that new earth. And then this one is more specific about creating a podcast. I would love to ask you something, Victoria, because you told me you've launched your podcast, and I went on Instagram, and when I clicked the YouTube link, and you redirected me to Axel Shura's interviews with you. And
All
now I'm on
right.
YouTube, and I typed your name, but I couldn't find it. So are you posting on YouTube, and what's the name of your podcast?
Yeah, I'm posting on YouTube and it's a new channel. It's called The Girl Who Sold Her Louboutin Shoes. So,
Oh,
name I'm using, I don't use my name. Like, I do use it when it's published and there is a host's name and a guest's name, but I have created that name for the channel because that's who I see I am, I guess. I used to be like a
Mm.
city girl and enjoying the luxury and the lifestyle of a city. And now I turned into someone who moved into a jungle, and I haven't been wearing high heels since over 5 years living in Bali. And I don't find it necessary. So, yeah.
I love that. It makes me think, I guess, is it a reference to the book The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari?
Yes, it is, and it's going to be my book, also called that name. And yeah, I'm about to share how did I get from materialism to spirituality, and how did it help me to improve my feeling about who I am, my happiness, contentment, and just the way of being, I guess. And yeah, I've completely changed my lifestyle, and it all began with the deep meditation and different modalities and practices.
Beautiful. As it happens, especially people in Ubud. I know you're in Ubud too, so we often started a different life.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for coming here. Also for the viewer who's watching this episode now, thank you for joining us. And if, like Victoria, you're considering starting your podcast, or if you've just started, or if you hesitate, if you're in the process, come and talk about it on the show. You'll see a link in the description below. And so, Victoria, I'd love to ask you, has it been so far with your podcast?
So far so good. Actually, I could resonate to what you said before about, having a podcast with this Joshua, someone who was channeling the Jesus energy. And I thought, well, I've got a similar experience when I was interviewing someone. Her name is Marina, actually, and she works with the dragon's energy, and she's giving birth to dragons. And I thought, oh my God, how people are going to actually receive it. But then I thought, well, it's not about actually always people. I'm very much interested in that subject. It fascinates me that people can give a birth to a dragon, which means dragon's energy, and um, download it and interact with it and use it for their own benefits. And there might be people like myself who are interested in unusual things, right? Because dragons, when we look in the history and the books, they are appearing on and off. There are many of them in Russian's fairy tale stories. And I've got Russian Ukrainian background because I was born in Soviet Union, and we had lots of dragons and what they were symbolizing. So I thought that's actually fascinating, and it's interesting um, for me. And I do believe that I'm going to send the signal with that message to people who also going to watch it and enjoy it and learn something about it. And maybe there's some of
Mhm.
them who would like to work with Marina and give a birth to their own dragon. Isn't it fun to have your own dragon? Like, do we always need to be serious? And do we always need to be like grown ups and forget about all the fun and all the creativity that comes with it? So, yeah, pretty much it's going well. There are some doubts, obviously. And there is a podcast that is about to go there, which we did 2 times because of the rain and the jungle. It was incredibly like wolf heavy, and it didn't stop raining. So we had to do it again. And I'm also thinking of maybe instead of doing it in a kind of improvised studio, maybe to move into um, a studio as we did with Axel, and as you've just mentioned not long ago, where there are 3 cameras and it's professional equipment, and it's much easier than for the editor to edit it. It might be done faster, it might be better lighting, and so many benefits that comes with it. Yeah, I would like to hear your view on that, because I'm curious, is it what kind of way are you doing a podcast? Is it in a studio? Is it online? Because
Mm.
I'm definitely going to check your your channel, but I didn't know what it was. But I will check it out and subscribe after this podcast.
Yes. So look, I've recorded in studios. I've recorded in person, just in my living room. I record a lot online. I've done solos, and to me, it boils down to obviously your budget to start with, and also your goals. So my experience with studios is that they amplify what's already there, but they don't make the show. So just recording in a studio won't make a podcast successful. And people often think that because most of the top podcasts, they're in a beautiful studio, but they don't work because they're in a studio. They already work because the content is really good. And then it makes sense to put a few, hundreds, or maybe in case of the biggest one, a few $1,000 in each episode, to go from a million to even 1.3 million views, or like to increase that, because then it really makes sense. But the most important is your positioning, understanding your audience, what's the value you're bringing to them, and the content and some of the packaging and the promotion that you do. And I know it for a fact because I've been recording in studios a lot of episodes, and actually most of my top episodes, they're online recordings. And obviously online, like, they both have their pros and cons basically, but also it very much depends on, on when you're at, but also on your goals. So if you want to create a big brand with a lot of views, it's one thing. But if your priority is to find clients and monetization, you might have a totally different strategy. So if that's okay with you, Victoria, I would love to start with asking you, what are your goals with your podcast?
So first of all, it's fun. I was thinking I want to do it because I'm doing it anyways. But also, I would like to open my own school of hypnotherapy, meditation, and certain modalities to help people to come to the essence of who they are, overcome all limiting beliefs, all the programs, and all that is imposed on us through the society. And yeah, so my goal is to spread the knowledge through other facilitators, maybe myself a little bit, as people are watching it, they're getting to know me a little bit more, and also to interest people coming to Bali, and whether to Bali or study online, because I'm planning to open a school online and offline. So there will be opportunities to do both ways. Mm, Possibly monetize it, but somehow I think I would have to work on that beliefs. I haven't personally encountered people with who monetized the YouTube channel. So that's why I was super curious to ask you. I know you've been working since 7 years. Do you actually make a decent money out of it? Because the energy and the input, and I'm planning to invest sometimes, because I run many businesses, a few businesses through my life. Sometimes it wouldn't, it wasn't equal. It wasn't like, it wasn't satisfying me. So I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm happy with the hypnotherapy session. I love it. I'm passionate about it. And I was thinking, okay, there is an opportunity to um, create a school, which I'm anyways opening, and then an online platform, and also share that wisdom. I do believe there is a lot of ancient wisdom, and people come to certain information and experiences that are worthy of sharing. And yeah, I would love to people to find out the truth. And yeah, so, but can I monetize it through like channel itself? I would like to ask you that because you've got more experience.
Yes, thanks for asking. The short answer is no. Like you can, but you need to have a lot of views and a lot of subscribers. Just to tell you, with 3,600 subscribers on YouTube, I think I make like $40 a month or something. But the monetization, hmm?
Hold on. With 360 subscribers,
3,600.
the 3,600. Okay. The how many subscribers you've got? The channel that you've been publishing since 7 years.
Yeah, this one's 3,600.
Okay, got you. Okay. Yeah. So what is the number of subscribers you believe that is going to give you the right amount of money?
Well, I'm not monetizing through YouTube though. I'm monetizing through my coaching.
Oh, okay.
That's how I monetize. That's actually what I recommend for most people. So when you're a really big brand, you can make okay money on YouTube through the advertising, and that's good. But for people who have more smaller channels, the way to monetize is your services. For example, if you're a coach, calling in people to work with you, interviewing directly your ideal customers could be one. You can play also with some partnership. There's a plastic recycling network marketing company I'm part of that I've promoted once when I had a leader of that company on the show. So these are the kind of things that are more tailored to when you start. But the what people think of when they see the big ones is either YouTube monetization or bigger sponsorships, like, oh, this is sponsored by, I don't know, this supplement or that. And these are generally not the first things to look at. But if you're a coach, for example, you could have 100 views per video and make good money thanks to your podcast or YouTube channel if these are really targeted viewers that want to work with you.
Yeah, so I guess for you, you could also create your product, right? That you could like promote, which is your coaching. Yeah, that's what your product is. Okay, I see it. Yeah, and for
So in
people,
your case,
Mhm.
just in your case, because you talked about that school and online, in your case, what you obviously you already have your practice as a hypnotherapist, so people could listen to your podcast and be inspired to book a session with you or to work with you. And there's ways you could shape your podcast in that way if that was your priority. If your priority is more views, maybe you can go on broader topic, invite big guests in different areas, and that's a little bit of a different strategy. And also when you have that school with other practitioners, indeed having a lot of podcasts with those practitioners will draw people into the
Yeah,
ecosystem of that school. So I like that you
that's
start with what you want to do with your life and create a podcast that supports those goals.
exactly because that's exactly the idea to invite people who are offering different modalities in Bali and then having them at the school. So sharing the wisdom and sharing those practices that they're using on themselves, or like, yeah, to spread that knowledge.
Yes. Yeah, and then I remember in the form, right, you were talking about getting people to your YouTube channel. Is that something you want to work more on?
Oh yeah, because I think for now I've got like 37 subscribers. It's very fresh. It's been since well, I've got it since a month, right? So it's pretty fresh. And I was thinking, oh yeah, how do you actually get people? Like I have invited through my social media, but I don't know if people see it, how much time it takes for them to see to subscribe. And
Yeah,
yeah, what's your view on that?
cool. Yeah, and as you've started already, I'd be happy to do a little feedback directly on your YouTube and Instagram and give you direct feedback on that. Would that be cool?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, well, the first thing is when I went on your Instagram, I wanted to check your YouTube channel. I clicked on your link tree and I couldn't find it.
Ah,
So
oh
it'd be
yeah.
good to have the link to your YouTube channel on the link tree.
Yes,
Then
it has.
when
Yeah,
I
it
went
has.
on your, yeah,
Yes.
you go, sorry.
Yes, sorry. It wasn't, yeah, you're right. I forgot to connect that. Yeah, I haven't connected it yet. Yeah.
Obviously, that makes it much easier. And then another thing is when I go on your YouTube, um, yeah, actually, so I episode 1 and 2, they look good. You know, they already look good. Obviously, there's things that you can think about for. So, for example, the thumbnail is more to is better not to really have a title, but something that spikes people's curiosity. And usually, I like the thumbnail and the title to be complementary, so not to repeat each other. But otherwise, they look good. They look quite professional. You put 2 videos there that are just uploaded, so you can upload as unlisted, so they don't show. So the one that says 14th of January and second meeting of Richard and Tiberius, I believe they shouldn't be public. Or if you want them to be public, they should be packaged differently. So you can hide this, so it looks a
Yeah,
little bit more
so I was wondering
polished.
about it. If I place it as unlisted, does it mean people cannot see it, or they just won't be on my main page of the channel?
Unlisted means people only access them when they have the link. So they won't
Okay,
see it if they just come on your channel, which I think might be good for this. Or if you want them to be public, well, at least give them like a title, because one says just the
yeah,
date,
it
you know.
hasn't
So
got a title. It hasn't got the thumbnail either.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And another thing I noticed straight away is I see you did a clip. Yeah, it looks like it's from Opus. So you did a clip of the podcast, which is great. But I don't know if she didn't accept it, but your guest isn't a collaborator on the post. And in general, if you want to have an Instagram strategy for your podcast and you have guests, a really good strategy is you get a guest that gets like something like 10 times your followers and they accept collaborations, and that gives a lot of visibility to the podcast. And you already have quite a big Instagram, 8,000. So I have less than you on Instagram, and I get guests that have like 100,000 followers that accept collabs. So I think in your case, you could do something like this, like when you have a guest anyway, have them do a collab, and especially if they have a big Instagram.
Yeah. Right. And do you believe hashtags are really important on YouTube, or not as much?
Not so much, because YouTube works as a search engine. So it actually looks into the transcript of your video, it looks into the description of your video, and it doesn't really need the hashtags. Like Instagram needs the hashtag because it doesn't have as much content to look into already. But especially now, YouTube automatically analyzes the content of your video. So when people search something, which they do, so if people search how to self hypnotize myself to become a millionaire, like, people would search that on YouTube. If you have a video about it, it's easy for the YouTube algorithm to recommend this. You don't need to have a hashtag hypnosis. It knows it's about hypnosis.
All right. Yeah, I get it. It's more about the title that is okay. It's like the Google search engine, right? It's called something like
Yeah.
searching. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, YouTube is the second biggest search engine after Google, and it's owned by Google. When you type on Google, you get recommendations of YouTube. So that's also why it's good that you do it as a YouTube channel, even if it's a podcast.
Got you. Mm. Yeah, I've just encountered actually last Sunday someone who has created a YouTube channel, and since 7 months they've got already 14,000 followers. I thought that's amazing, right? Because the question is why some people they having a YouTube channel that is just, in a couple of months gives them um, thousands of people, and some people they just might have few people who subscribed. What is the definition here of success? Is knowing the
Yeah.
tricks, is the I guess is the content. Well, a logical, obviously, mind says that. And what else? What's your experience and knowledge about that?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and as you said, there can be many different metrics for success, right? So a typical one for YouTube would be a number of views, a number of subscribers. That being said, you also have YouTubers with a really big audience that struggle to actually make good money from it and get a little burnt out or feel trapped in that cage where they keep doing content on something they're not passionate about anymore. So
Hmm.
different measures of success, I would say I love that you started with fun. I think having fun and doing what interests you is a big measure of success. And then in the more traditional way, yes, number of subscribers, number of viewers, monetization that you get from it, they're all indicators, right? And then for me, it's encouraging people to do their best and be ambitious without comparing too much.